Everyone's compared to Hitler every single day. Elon Musk is Hitler every day. Trump's Hitler every day.
And those people at the top of the police are basically politicians themselves, aren't they? That's
I think they're the enemy. I think they are the enemy now, the police. We know this jihadist out there going to kill him for burning the Quran, and they release his details. Hi everybody, and welcome back to Nick Talks. Returning guest this time again is Ash, that Preston journalist, and this episode is not going to be our usual fun and looking at politics. This is extremely serious. A shared friend of ours, David, who's also known as the Silver Fox from Silver Fox Hot Takes, was arrested on Friday evening, kept overnight, and released on Saturday morning. I'm lost for words, Ash. I am literally lost for words. What are you making of this?
well, we shouldn't be too surprised, should we? Welcome to Starmer's Britain. I think this is it surprised me, of course, because David's very articulate and he doesn't say things that he can't back up. He always comes up with facts and figures, etc. So it surprises me that the police have time to actually go and arrest someone like him, keep him in the cells, and from what I can tell, nothing's actually happened since, although he's probably got some sort of non-crime hate incident now against his name or something ridiculous like that. But from what I understand, all he did was quote the government's own figures on immigration and illegal immigration, and YouTube didn't seem to like it. And obviously, somebody must have reported him to the police for this to happen. Um, I'm a bit like you. I'm absolutely astonished that, if it was an extremist, it was somebody who came out with, say, racist language or something like that, which he certainly doesn't, then I suppose you can understand it a bit. But there's absolutely nothing like that on his channel, which is why it's so popular in the first place. So I find it remarkable, yet a bit less surprising than I should, given that we have grandmothers who are languishing in prison now. We have different political prisoners, in my opinion, languishing in prison for saying silly things on Facebook. Peter Lynch is dead because he was on the same street that a riot was taking place on, although he didn't take part himself. Is it really that surprising, given that the crackdown on free speech, the crackdown on privacy that we're seeing from this government? Not really.
The surprise to me is they're now going after people online more than they were before. Now, for people who don't know David, the Silver Fox from Silver Fox Hot Takes, go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe. I'll put the link in the description of this video. I would class him as a common sense, right of centre commentator on politics. Would that be a fair assessment?
I think so, yeah. I think no different to a lot of us, yeah.
Well, I'll put me and you in the same category. Now, he did a video on Saturday morning when he came back from the police station, a quick one-off video about what's gone on. And according to that video, he was questioned about comparing a current German politician to Hitler. Everyone's compared to Hitler every single day. Elon Musk is Hitler every day. Trump's Hitler every day. Me and you are accused of being Hitler every single day. That is just that. That's just like the sun coming out to shine. It's every single day. So that can't be the issue. And he was questioned about, and he was a little bit more vague on this, but I don't blame him. He needs to get some legal advice and find out what's going on. But he also said they were interested in him saying, basically, the Prime Minister needs stringing up. Now, did he mean that? Well, obviously not. Do assassins and people who are trying to overthrow the government go on YouTube and tell people what they're going to do? Or is that a phrase we use in this country about, especially politicians that we don't like, they need stringing up? What that basically means is they need kicking out, they need getting rid of. It hardly ever means they need stringing up by their neck, literally, until dead. And how the police have got time to look into this, to send so many police officers round to his house on a Friday evening, not invite him in for an interview under caution, but to go and arrest him and hold him in cells overnight is, I have no idea what's going on. And this is on top of what happened last weekend in Manchester with the burning of the Quran. I think I'm done now with it, but I know I am done with the police now. I do not, since last weekend and this, I do not class myself as a supporter of the UK police. I don't. I I think they're the enemy. I think they are the enemy now, the police. That doesn't mean every single police officer, but as an organization, they are the enemy now. I can't see how else we describe them. They're, they're basically the Gestapo, the British modern version of the Gestapo. They're enforcing political agendas, political will. They're arresting people for nothing. They're prosecuting people for nothing. The guy from the Quran burning, they released his name, date of birth, and roughly where he lives. We know there's jihadists out there going to kill him for burning the Quran, and they release his details. We couldn't find anything about Axel Rudikabana for months and months and months. Couldn't get a picture of him for a year, and suddenly they can release all his details the same day. I've had enough of the British police.
They have become increasingly politicized, haven't they? There's no question about it. And the senior police, like you said, the Bobby on the beat, if you can find one that is, are not necessarily to blame for all this. They're getting the instructions from on high, and those people at the top of the police are basically politicians themselves, aren't they? That's what they're bothered about, and they're happy to carry out the will of the government of the day, even if that includes furthering their own political agenda, shutting people up, for example. Who are, like you said before, who are the most likely people to compare people to fascists, to Hitler, or to Nazis? It's the left. They are the most likely people to use those phrases. I myself have far more respect for history than to just go bandying the phrases fascist around and things like that, because then you degrade what that word actually means and what it meant to people. Go back to the 40s, etc., and what happened under that regime. But it seems to be okay if one side does it. But if the others, if people like you or I or David or anybody else for that matter uses that sort of extremist language, then we're the ones that get our collars felt. And they are definitely trying, I think, to breed a fear of culture, trying to stop people speaking their minds. All those people, those political prisoners, as I call them, that are in jail now for not even rioting in some cases, just doing something silly on Facebook, saying silly words. Like David, I personally I wouldn't use the phrase "string him up," for example, about a politician, but it's not like he meant it literally, like he was going to find a politician and get the nearest lamppost, etc. That's just rubbish. It's just a turn of phrase. Like I said, unwise words possibly. And yeah, that guy in Manchester, I mean, that is absolutely shocking what they've done. If I was him, I'd be seeking legal advice now, and I'd be onto the Free Speech Union or somebody and getting Greater Manchester Police into court and getting compensation because this guy will now have to move. He'll probably have to change his identity. And how much is that going to cost him to do or cost a taxpayer to do now? I forgot what you call it, doxing, don't they? The police have done this before with people as well. And it's absolutely despicable. They have no right to release this guy's address or where he lives or his age or anything about him. Personally, I'd like to see some sort of anonymity in this country. And I mean this for basically all crimes. Until you're charged, I think you should have anonymity. Because if you look at cases in the past, that I forget the guy's name now, the fantasist who said that all these people like Harvey Procter, etc., had been doing things to children. It turned out they were all innocent, and that guy was a complete fantasist. Carl Beach, that was his name, wasn't it? Carl Beach. Yet those people's names were dragged through the courts, they were dragged through the mud, and that kind of mud sticks. And that we need some sort of change in the process in this country, but I don't think this government wants it. And the establishment want to be very, very careful about what they're doing at the moment. You've got the politicians squeezing us with tax. You've got the police squeezing people's free speech. We are heading for, and I don't encourage violence, just to be clear, but we are heading for a revolution. We are heading for mass civil unrest in this country. People have had enough. They've got no money. They've got no right to voice opinions. They're having the jobs taken away by a disastrous economy created by the politicians, and they've basically got nothing to look forward to. It's a complete the whole country is a complete calamity at the moment. And when people get that frustrated that they can't protest because they'll get arrested, they can't say anything on social media because they'll get arrested or chucked in prison, there's only one route eventually, and people just think, well, I've got sod all to lose, so I might as well cause a lot of trouble. And that's the way I fear this country could be heading.
I can see it myself. Like you, I hope it doesn't get to that, but I can see it myself. If you can get, if they can, if the establishment can turn someone like me against the police, I spent 20 years working with the police. I spent many years based in police stations. I've trained police officers. I've won awards off the police. If you can turn me against the police, then the average citizen on the street have been hating the police for a long time. Criminals have always hated the police. That's an occupational hazard. But when good people start looking at the police as an enemy, you know there's something going wrong in society, because the police should always be the good guys. The police should always be the people you turn to when you need help and support. That's what the police should be. But now we're looking at the police going, you're the enemy, you're the Gestapo. And if we're looking at what we want to do in this country now, well, let me go back to the police. Let me tell you what's going to happen to David. There'll be no charges. There'll be no charges. Arresting him and locking him up overnight was the punishment. That's what they wanted to do to him. They wanted to show him that we can take your freedom away. Right? We haven't got enough to prosecute you and get you in jail. But we took 15 hours of your life away, didn't we? We locked you up, we intimidated you. And that's what they did with the Quran burning guy. We might not be able to do anything about this, but we've warned everybody now. If you do something like this, we release your name and your address and your date of birth. And these are the tactics of authoritarian regimes, where the state has always got their knee on your neck, and you never know what you can say and what you can't say. So you end up saying nothing just to be safe. When David released that video on Saturday morning, and I watched it, my wife was having a cup of tea and watched it, and she likes David, and she likes the chats I do with other people. She's sick of me talking, but she likes other people talking about something else. And the first thing she said to me was, "Are they going to arrest you, Nick? Because you say exactly the same things as him. Are they going to break our door down? Are they going to come for you?" And she's really worried now. I mean, she was worried before, and I said it many times jokingly. But now someone she knows and someone just like me is being arrested at home and taken to jail. And I don't know what to do about it.
I don't think there's a great deal we can do about it. I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I hope David continues doing what he's doing. I hope you continue doing what you're doing. We've got to. I mean, I won't pretend that I've not moderated my language somewhat, because I have. I mean, I try not to. I don't intentionally set out to offend people anyway. I'm sure none of us do really. But there's no point. There's nothing wrong with having strongly held beliefs and opinions, and that's the whole point of being able to have a channel like this and speak on it. I agree. By the way, you got to watch your language. You do have to be careful what you say, because that can have ramifications, can't it? That can have consequences. And if you say things or encourage people to do things, then fine. I understand that can be a problem, and it can cause people to do stupid things if that, and then you're held responsible for that. I think we've got to all start covering ourselves, Nick. You've got to start thinking, if someone comes for me, which is possible, if any of us, then who's going to help me? And I would advise, I'm not a spokesperson for them or anything, I'd advise joining the Free Speech Union as soon as possible. I spoke to David, and he said he's joined the Free Speech Union now. And I had an issue last year over my free speech, and they were fantastic. And they're not expensive to join, and they're terrific. If you want some help, you've got a free speech case like this, and I hope David's seeking legal advice through them now to see what can be done, or if anything can be done. Um, you've really got to start covering yourself, and I think the free speech union is the best way to do that, because they will fight for you, and they're very good. They're not just a two a penny trade union like you get all over the place that donate to Labour and that. They're nothing like that. Quite the opposite. So I would advise anybody who does what we do to cover themselves with some sort of legal backup, and that's what they'll give you. If you get in trouble and you haven't actually done anything wrong, you just literally exercising your right to free speech, which seemingly these politicians now want to take away from us. And like you said, people are scared to actually voice opinions, and it's absolutely disgusting. But I'm afraid, this is socialism. People, not many people, but some people in this country voted for it. Many stayed at home on the settees, now probably wishing they hadn't done. And this is socialism. They don't like people speaking out against them. You've only got to watch. I know we're not doing the usual political chat, but you've only got to watch when these people are asked questions they don't like. They actually look at the interviewer with a sense of disgust, contempt. How dare you question me? How dare you insinuate that I might be wrong about something? And that's the problem with these people. And I'm afraid until these loons are out of office, this is the kind of Britain we're going to have to live in, at least for a couple of years now. No problem. Maybe even 3 or 4 years. Who knows?
No, I agree. I've seen some of those interviews, and what they're thinking in their head is, you're going on my list.
Mm.
I'm going to revisit this one day when I've got more power, and you're going on the list for asking me that question. You can see it in their eyes.
Yeah, yeah, they believe themselves to be saintly. They're right. They can't comprehend in their own heads that there's just a possibility they're completely wrong. But no, that in their heads they are right, you're wrong, and that's it. And if you don't comply, I had first-hand experience of this with an SNP politician who told me that I was like, well, second-hand. It was passed on to me through one of the SNP's MSPs. I was on their list of people that they didn't like. That was the exact words. I was on the list that the SNP don't even try and hide it. The Labour are just as bad, if not worse.
Yeah, I agree with you. The Free Speech Union. The Free Speech Union saved me 4 or 5 years ago when I got cancelled to Black Lives Matter and stuff like that. So I advise everybody, join the Free Speech Union. And I think to end this little section that we've done on a Sunday afternoon, the only thing we can do, because you're right, there's nothing else we can do. All we can do is not be intimidated, is to not change the subjects you want to talk about. Do not moderate your language more than you would have done before. We all moderate our language all the time, of course we do, but don't moderate anymore because of what's happened in the last few weeks. Carry on speaking what you want to speak about. Use the language, the words you want to use about. Use the phrases you want to use. Because if we don't, then they've won. And they'll crack down on something else then, and we won't be able to say those things. There's a fight coming. We're already in the battle and they're already having this fight. There's no point taking steps backwards because we've got to have this fight sooner or later. And the time to have this fight is now. And we've got to have this fight for freedom of speech and expression now, today. No more backing down, no more backing away, no more self-censoring, no more watching what you say, no more thinking I'm not going to talk about that in case that gets me into trouble. And I've said many times to you and other people, I'd rather die on my feet than live on my knees. And I've got no intentions of changing at all. And the police know where I live. So if they want to come and get me, come and get me. But I won't. I'm not for changing.
One thing I would say, if anybody watching this is approached or grabbed by the police or arrested or, had the same treatment as David's had, conduct yourself as an innocent person always. Never, ever say you've done anything wrong. Never plead guilty to any of this bullshit. Just conduct yourself as an innocent person, and then they cannot possibly send you to prison because you haven't done anything wrong. But as soon as you do the silly thing, like those people did, them political prisoners now inside, and admit guilt through terrible, terrible legal advice, then they're going to put you away for 18 months, 2 years for nothing, next to nothing, just for exercising your right to free speech. So always conduct yourself as an innocent person because that's what you are.
Yeah. And the best answer to give the police under caution is no comment.
Yeah.
Because they will twist what you say to fit their agenda. So the answer is no comment. No
Anybody
comment.
who represents themselves has a fool for a client. Never, ever. Yeah. Don't represent yourself. No comment all the way and get proper legal advice.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. Ash, when you're banged up, can I come and visit?
Yeah, bring me a cake with a file in it, won't you?
Right. Well, there's a good chance me and you will be sharing the same cell.
Well, there we go then.
Right, I'm glad we ended on a high and had a laugh about it at the end because it's a serious subject, but I'm glad we broke the ice with a bit of a giggle. Cheers, Ash. Stay safe, stay free.
Cheers, Nick. You too. Thanks very much.
See you later. Bye bye.
Bye.